when I hear stories from people at Nike, it was such a different environment than it is now. Because now, like that's back when Nike was still becoming the behemoth versus Nike, the behemoth now, and they're more corporate now. I think going corporate sometimes you lose some of that essence that you had on the come up, right? Because you're doing things that are new, you're doing things that are out the box. You know, you're being a maverick and you're being creative and those other stuff. And I think that was Nike in the '90s where they were just like, "Yo, we just, you know, just going crazy with it," and it just worked. You look at the phone posit, like there's no precedence for that. Like that shit was. I mean, to this day, to me, that's still the most unique sneaker I've ever fucking seen. Like it's just it stands on its own. And so you don't necessarily see that now because because you got shareholders, you got to play it safe. You know, like we can't take too much risk.
But I never understood the shareholder when it comes to creativity. Shareholder should be as far as managing the money, how you do sales, how you do your overhead, all of that. Me taking a risk and designing a dope looking shoe, a shareholder, I don't see how you have a shareholder in the back of your mind because you can make a dope shoe and limit it. And if the problem is the Jordan 1 Air 1 Air 5. I'm pretty sure Nike shareholders, when they got up, they didn't check to see if the Jordan Air 1 Air 5, Jordan 185 moved the needle on their stock with Nike or not. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I feel like making a consecutive dope product, raising your brand awareness, raising the amount of people that have respect for your brand, which do eventually equates to dollars. That's what's going to move the needle.
But
Not so more managing your sponsorships, managing your brand deals, who you sign as a signature athlete. You know what I'm saying? Okay, Brian has a bigger following. We can turn from those following into potential customers. And if we take 10% of his fan base and turn them into customers, we can probably bring in 25 million. So that makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
No,
So I think that's the more so I believe that they should keep those two things separate.
When I mention the shareholders, is because like you mentioned the Jordan 1, like that's the safe bet, right? That shoe, like we talked about it, like you didn't have to market that shoe. That shoe was gonna sell itself. You know what I'm saying? Because it's had 40 years of marketing and culture and so it's in the zeitgeist. Like you don't have to do anything unique or special, which is why
I've never heard anybody use that word before.
I got to use it today. So you know, so like that's why the marketing campaign made zero sense to me.
Definitely gonna hit somebody with that one tomorrow at work.
Ergo, concordantly, vis-a-vis. You know what? I have no idea what the hell I'm saying. I just thought it would make me sound cool.
so that's why the marketing campaign was dumb as fuck to me. I'm like, y'all spending a budget on a shoe that doesn't need to sell. Meanwhile, that Jordan 40 probably gonna need that same budget.
Message.
Because nobody gives
Is
a
Jordan
fuck.
40 even gonna come out this year?
Supposed to, but here's my thing. The reason I bring up shareholders and whatever, because when you come up with something new, that's risk, right? Because obviously you got to put R&D into the tech, you got to put R&D into the design. You got to create modes. You got to source materials and all this other stuff. So there's a lot that goes into it. And then as somebody who works in a car company, like anytime we change a model, there's a lot of reconfiguration in the plants, right? To the robots, they got to be programmed differently because now the shape of the car is different. You got the build of the car is different. So I imagine it's probably the same with shoes, right? So
yeah, I mean,
so there's a lot. All I'm saying is there's a lot that goes into that. So, and overhead does cut into your revenue, so or your profits. So, and I just think I think a lot of times a lot of creativity gets stymied because it's like, okay, how much is that going to cost us? Because at the end of the day, we're beholden to them first.
Well, I guess I can use a music analogy, right?
Yeah. Mm.
When Jay-Z and Kanye are on Rockefeller,
Mhm.
you can afford to put out Young Chris because if it doesn't do well, anything that you made, the album didn't recoup, you can absorb that from the amount of money and net profits that Kanye and Jay-Z are going to bring in.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm pretty sure the Jordan 40 doesn't sell. Nike's not going to lose $1 billion or $2 billion, right? They probably won't even really feel it, right? As far as managing the finances, hey, we gave y'all a big budget. We got to at least have a 40% sell through, right?
Mm.
If we can't make that, then the next shoe, we're going to trim off the budget or keep the budget the same. And as far as the shareholders thing, I don't believe they should keep that as separate because you have so many shoes. You got an NBA sponsorship deals, you got college football deals, you got all these other things bringing in so much money that you got enough cushion to take a risk.
they've lost a little bit of market share because they're not being innovative in a lot of areas, right? So you have to balance.
Not taking risks has cost you more money than taking
but-
risks.
That's the argument I'm making.
Yeah.
So I'm
But
saying,
wouldn't you say the same thing in terms of like, and I feel like I always go back to it from a marketing standpoint. They got the Air Max DN8 that they just dropped this year.
yeah,
Outside of seeing it in the store and seeing whatever stuff they put on the sneakers app, is there any marketing behind that shoe?
no, but that's to your point. Like I agree with you.
But that's the part I think to Guru's point. We talk about when you talk about the shareholders,
yeah,
there needs to be somebody from a shareholder point of view is probably like, well, what are we doing in terms of marketing the product that's being created? Because it doesn't happen.
but I think a lot of things are happening, right? And it's very nuanced. I think one, Nike has, and a lot of brands too, have become too dependent on us to kind of carry that water, because they can just throw out a picture of a shoe. All the blogs are going to repost it because they need to create content. We're going to talk about it because we need content. Like, so I think they kind of got dependent on that shit, because when's the last time you seen a Nike commercial, right? Like, they know that they don't have to put the money into that, and it works sometimes, but not all the time, right?
Even if you didn't know if it was going to, even if you didn't say, I don't know if we should go back to shooting commercials, even if you didn't know that, watching that Anthony Edwards shoe sell like it did the last year, and the amount of commercials they did, the amount of feedback from the commercials they did, and how people loved and the amount of creativity in their commercials, and how they constantly shot commercials throughout the season.
Yep.
So if Cam and them said something about him, a month later it was a commercial responding to Cam and them. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was complete involvement off the shoe. Like, yeah, after work, y'all have to start running the shoe company like a record label. We gotta work this single. We're gonna have to put it on the DJs. We're gonna put you on Summer Jam. Like, we're gonna work this record. Then after this record, we got this album this song coming out. Like, you gotta keep working your stuff. You can't just put it out and then see if people gonna buy it. You gotta keep working. That's what Adidas did.
Agreed.
Well, no,
They work their record all year
it's
round.
a simple term to that: engagement.
Message.
You have to engage with your consumer.
But the problem is that for the longest time, Nike's been number one, so people have been chasing them. You know what I'm saying? But then it's like, oh, there's something new and flashy over there. There's nobody chasing that. So now you have to give people a reason to start chasing you again. You know what I'm saying? And so I think Nike kind of got drunk off of that shit. Like Guru says it all the time. Like, victory has defeated you.
Peace has cost you strength. Victory has defeated you.
You know what I'm saying? When you're used to winning, you're not putting in the same work that you did in order to start winning. You know what I'm saying? And so
You know, a great example
what's that?
this past year, a great analogy. Dipset and Locks versus. The Locks was Adidas basketball, and Dipset was Nike basketball.
Yeah.
Just showed up, we good. We all knew Dipset was more influential. We had more personal, emotional attachment to Dipset. When it came showtime, the Locks showed and proved. And just like Jadakiss did, he basically beat them by himself. And Edwards basically beat that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's a perfect analogy of how they can handle. Like, you can't just show up and just think like you got to put in some effort and time in with your product. You know what I'm saying? So
Guru's point, I mean, you made the point too. Like, not only was the shoe dope in itself, the commercials, it wasn't some overly produced, they ain't had to spend millions at all. It was him in one room with, maybe a prop and somebody else, just kind of, just doing a thing.
Monotone backdrop, and then because when you do monotone backdrop, it focuses you
on the person. And
we're probably only one or two cameras.
And and they use him to sell the shoe. He sold the shoe. Anthony Edwards, his personality and everything, it sold the shoe.
Perfect marriage, like
perfect.
Which is why I go back to the Devin Booker. Like, as a Michigan dude, I'm happy any person get their own shoe, but just as a culture standpoint, like, you let this person go for this person, and it's
two ends of the spectrum. Like I said,
he's like, you got to be laid.
What?
You can't be too laid back for a shoe. Like, Anthony Edwards got that Jordan, Kobe,
he got
rash ilk. You know what I'm saying?
He got personality.
But you can be laid back and still have personality, like Snoop, laid back but still got personality.
But he knows when to cut it on and off. You know, he toggles it. Like Anthony Edwards, like 50 Cent is like Anthony Edwards, always on.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, Bron would be cool one minute, then he'd be an engaged woman. And Kobe was like, I'm gonna strike, but I'm gonna do it smooth. But he was engaged. Like, his commercials, right?
Yeah.
Like, what you mean, Kobe? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, those things, they wasn't. So you can do it. It's just Gary Payton was a brash version. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you can do it. Pippen was a silent assassin. That's what they call his commercial.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying, with the Pippen one. So like you can sell that shoe. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? But
No,
you
remember,
gotta-
I think what was that? Remember that it was one. I can't remember which Kevin Durant one. I think it was the KD 2 or 3
Mm.
when he had commercials, and you know they Slim Reaper, like all of his they were giving him all of his nicknames, like just as he's in the gym shooting.
Yeah.
It's like just certain. It's an easy way to be able to
Yeah, there's
market.
ways to do it.